will actually turn whatever they're spraying on and off right before our eyes. I mean, you'll see a plane up there flying like normal, and then all of a sudden it starts spraying. We've seen them fly off into the distance and then loop around and fly back again. These are not your typical planes with a preordained path destination from city to city. Someone needs to explain to me why do they stop traveling in one particular direction and then loop around and come back again. They perform this behavior so many times that we start seeing the tic-tac-toe grids in the sky. We're witnessing the giant X's. And I mean, Rosalind, when you and I grew up, these contrails naturally dissipated in a few seconds or perhaps a minute max. But these things expand, they grow bigger, and before you know it, the entire sky is overcast.
That's correct. And they are there all day. They do loop the loop around our county and our state. We follow them at times with spotters in different areas, watching the planes loop, come back around. And we know from the FAA records that the jets from commercial airlines fly in straight lines. And coming across our county, there aren't many, and they stay mostly in certain patterns. The jets that we see leaving the persistent jet contrails move in directions that normal jets wouldn't fly because it would use too much fuel and put them off schedule. And the jets that we see here do loops. We've got pictures of them looping the same X's and crosshatches. But I believe that some of that, not only are they looking for keeping something in the air almost all the time, but we feel that some of the markings are to mark the start and stop areas for their programs so that they can watch their experiments either from satellite or the ground.
This is a full-scale secret operation that includes not only the U.S. but Europe and the rest of the world?
Well, that's apparent because you can see the pictures from all over the world, and I get them constantly. Some areas are worse than others. The excuse for this is, number one, weather modification, number two, to save us from global warming, and number three, to save us from the terrorists. A lot of these programs, of which there are many patterns and which has been designated as wake vortex simulation carried out by NASA Langley Research Center. Many of these operations and the patents go on to explain how if there is a biological attack by terrorists at some point, that these exercises and practices will, in a sense, save us with the spider webbery that comes down from the aerosol spraying, potentially gathering the chemical mass spray that could be sprayed on any given population. The problem with that is the terrorists don't have the means to deliver this. They don't have the access to deliver this over the American populace per se. And the only people who have been doing this, that is biological experiments on the American people, is the military themselves, which has been admitted from everything from Operation Shad to the spraying that happened in San Francisco, I believe back in the 60s and the 70s, that literally killed people.
Again, I may not be able to ascribe intent, but what I can say is that it is expected that there will be increased mortality as well as the potential of a huge host of unknown pathogens that we are subject to, and this is not based on speculation. There's a whole arena of biological research that we haven't even begun to touch on.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government
found in our sample?
A community in the San Bernardino Mountains has a real mystery on its hands. The official explanation here is that jet contrails are causing strange lines in the sky.
What effects barium has on the body. Short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
You're talking about dominating our air supply without the human consent in a way that is difficult for many of us certainly to conceive, and certainly many of us refuse to accept it even in the light of
unlabeled, unassuming, untested. Ever since the agrochemical tomato called Flavor Saver was deemed fit for human consumption in 1994, there has been a surge of genetically modified foods onto our supermarket shelves. And unlike Europe, there is no mandate in the US for food companies to label products that contain what are known as genetically modified organisms. Rice, corn, peas, soy, potatoes, squash, zucchini, salmon, and milk. All of these foods sit innocently on our grocery shelves next to their organic counterparts. They look the same, smell the same, and even taste the same. But 60% of food that we eat every day has a potentially dangerous secret lurking in its DNA. Growth defects, infertility, disease, and allergies have all been linked to the creation and consumption of genetically engineered food. But somehow, these issues have been swept aside. Questions we should be asking, like where does my food come from and how safe is it, have been buried in the booming new GM food industry. What is GM food? Well, genetically modified food is crops, plants, and animals whose DNA has been altered for agricultural and nutritional reasons. It began in 1946, when two scientists called Joshua Lederberg and Edward L. Tatum conducted an experiment and discovered that DNA could be transferred from one species to another through a process called bacterial conjugation. This discovery has led to the development of special rice that can prevent blindness, herbicide-resistant crops, disease-resistant vegetables, and livestock growth hormones, which all improve farming efficiency. Today, the GM food industry makes $85 billion in the US market alone. Food companies and the media argue that the GMO revolution is the answer to our modern agricultural problems. But in 1998, when the GM industry was still in its infancy, Dr. Arpad Pushtai from the Rowett Research Institute in Aberdeen uncovered a shocking truth about species manipulation while he was conducting a GMO experiment on rats. Pushtai found that when his rats ate genetically modified potatoes, they developed cancerous cells in their intestinal tracts and brains. When his research went public, Pushtai was bombarded with criticism from the food industry and academics who said that his experiment was flawed. His research was effectively quashed by the big GMO players. His career was publicly ruined, and GMO was left to blossom into the $16 billion seed industry that it is today. But when huge food corporations like Kraft, Nestle, and Hershey refused to use GM organisms in their products for the European food market, what does it tell us about the safety of these so-called frankenfoods? After all, to get the results we want, we have to tinker with DNA, which is the blueprint for all living things. DNA is a complex molecule that lives inside the nucleus of a cell. When GM food is produced, biochemists have to artificially force the DNA from one species into another. This involves scrambling a food organism's blueprint, which changes its behavior and characteristics. If human error could be totally eliminated from DNA manipulation, then GM foods could very well be the technological miracle that we are after. By creating herbicide and pesticide-resistant crops, we might be able to provide an adequate food supply for a growing world population and get closer to beating starvation and malnutrition. But disrupting DNA is a tricky business, and skeptics don't think these code-scrambling scientists have a proper understanding of what is really happening in our DNA. Jeffrey Smith is a consumer activist and the executive director of the Institute of Responsible Technology. His research taught him that when biochemists insert a foreign gene into new DNA, they can't determine where it's going to end up on the DNA strand. Depending on where the new gene lands, it has the potential to disrupt traits that are already expressed naturally within the organism, and this can cause some truly weird and devastating results. In 1985, a group of pigs were pumped with a human growth hormone that was designed to make them grow bigger and faster than normal, but the procedure didn't go according to plan. The pigs were born severely deformed. Some didn't even have an anus or genitals. And who's to say this won't happen again? perhaps next time with even worse consequences. Activists argue that we still don't know enough about gene expression to be playing with the DNA of living organisms. One scary possibility that could occur from eating these foods is that we become susceptible to DNA-related diseases. Like push-ties rats and their cancerous intestines, there's a chance that similar DNA mutations could also occur in humans from eating GM foods. And this could cause irreversible genetic damage to our bodies. And the terrifying part about all this is that in the USA, we have no idea when we're shoveling these frankenfoods into our mouths. At the very beginning of the GM revolution in 1988, 60 countries at the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movement's conference voted unanimously to ban GMOs from food production. Today, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine still argues against the consumption of GM foods. And even scientists from the leading agrochemical corporation refuse to eat certain GMO products. Monsanto in Missouri was one of the first companies to supply farms with GM seeds, but several of its major employees won't drink any other milk than organic. Why? Because the GM growth hormone, RBGH, which is injected into milk-producing cows, has been proven to have cancer-causing properties. GM skeptics say there hasn't been enough testing to determine the outcome of drinking milk from a genetically modified cow. But if you're lucky enough to avoid a GM cancer scare, there are still allergies to worry about. The new proteins added to crops like soybean have been linked to an increase in serious food allergies, which can cause rash, diarrhea, difficulty breathing, and in serious cases, anaphylaxis and death. What's scary about these adverse reactions to GMOs is that they can't be avoided by just leaving those foods out of your diet. Once you've been exposed, the crop's DNA can make it into your own and integrate itself into your genetic makeup. This means that it could be years since you last drank GM soy milk, but you could still suffer from the nasty symptoms caused by its allergenic protein. One of the major differences between organic and GM crops is the way that they grow. Genetically modified plants have to be replanted every year, but normal seeds can be reused over and over again. If GMO seeds replace these natural seeds, then the Earth's ecosystem could be changed forever. The benefits of GM foods and the lack of regulation for them mean that we could soon live in a future where nothing but genetically modified crops dominate the landscape, and the natural form of wild crops are wiped off the planet.
Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to all you brothers out there on the highways and byways pushing this truth and sincerity, risking your lives to do so. It's the brother Yawadon. I want to do a lesson on the devices of the wicked, man. All right, so just gonna try and make it brief and hopefully it's edifying, but there's a calculated plot in what this man is doing right now. The things that he does to our foods, to our waters, to our environment. It proves who spiritually is Satan incarnate in the flesh. And there's no denying that. There's no doubt about who the wicked is. All right. People will get into arguments about who the chosen people are. And we can for sure say that the people in rulership right now, which are the so-called Caucasians, are not the chosen people of the Lord. That's for sure. Because they're destroying the world. They're trying to play the role of God, trying to be like Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And I'm going to prove that with the scriptures today. All right, so I want to define this word. Very generic definition: device, a thing made or adapted for a particular purpose, especially a piece of mechanical or electronic equipment. All right, so it has a purpose. A plan, the second one is a plan, a scheme, or a trick with a particular aim. And that's exactly how you identify these so-called Caucasians, man. They've developed a system to disenfranchise the real children of the Lord. And it goes deeper into that because in today's society now you live in a world, in a paradigm, all right, where you think you're free. All right, you have your own ability to go get food from the store. You go to a job and you think you pay your bills and everything's fine. But you never stop to think for a second that food is killing you, or that the air that you're breathing in when you go outside is killing you. Okay? When you wake up in the morning and you look out your window, is it natural to see the sky, lined up? You look at the sky and it looks like it's got cornrows. and you see jets, they do night runs in your city, you know, and these vapors will dissipate into clouds and essentially be in the air that you're breathing, you know? And that's the type of rulership that is in control of the world right now. You know, the man that alters your food, you know, trying to be like Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai by going into things that he has no business going into. You know, human mutilation, DNA mutilation. You know, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai has written a perfect code in our DNA to be perfect, and that of the ecosystem to be perfect as well. But here it is, you have this so-called Caucasian devil, all right? He's over here trying to alter foods so that he can gain more money, so that he can poison the masses and further his New World Order agenda. Okay, they have a goal to run the world, man. They want everybody to be slaves. You know, they don't want men to have the role of a man. They don't want a woman to have a role of a woman. They want you to be a transgender it. You know what I'm saying? All right, that's the goal. The goal is to keep the population under a certain amount of people, you know, so that they can control the masses, you know. All right, so I'm going to grab my first scripture here. It's just kind of getting into who Esau Edom is, because that's how through this lesson, we're going to identify who the so-called wicked or the wicked are. Who these so-called Caucasians, how they fit the role of the wicked perfectly, if you can receive it. All right, Genesis 27:39. And Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, brother being Jacob. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay, we all know that Esau did not do that. Okay, the real children of the Lord who actually served in captivity, not only in America or globally, but through every nation in history, not or since Egypt, all through every captivity, the children of the Lord have been through. So not only can you say that the identifier of the Lord or the Lord's people is a people that have been led through captivity, a single captivity, because there's no other nation of people really that have went through things like that. But the real children of the Lord, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans, have been through multiple captivities, multiple centuries of genocide and destruction. And you have to look at who plays a part and who had a hand in all of that historically, you know. And it says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Okay, so Esau has it in his heart naturally to be wicked and try and basically do everything he can to murder the Lord's children. All right. And here it is in this day in society where you walk outside and you're in the bread and circus scheme and everything seems fine and dandy until you look up and you see jets leaving lines in your sky, you know, heavy metals in your air. Lord knows what the full extent of that shit will do to you. All right. You know, it has birth defects. You birth kids, they got a third leg. Okay. You die at age 30 because you have, you know, cancer, or you have some type of disease, or, you know, you have a massive heart attack or a stroke because the stuff that they're putting in the air, you know, causing autism is beyond evident. And not even to mention the things that they're doing to the food. And this is geared toward Jacob. This is geared toward the Lord's children, which primarily are in captivity to this day in America. Okay, don't get me wrong, they are around the world throughout the sands of the seas. But you see what this man, this devil has done is he's taken his paradigm, his system, and he's spread it globally around the world. So that every nation of people is trying to be like Esau, or follows that same economic structure that he set up and established. Okay, so you can't escape this man's rulership. He is in the power seat right now. All right. Let's see. So the fatness of the earth, man. Okay, so Esau's blessing was the sword. All right. Esau's blessing is the sword. All right. First of all, he came out leprous. Okay, he's red, a similar pigment that I have. All right, for an example. But his blessing is the sword. He's been given the authority through Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to modify our foods, to modify and create diseases in labs and things like that that will kill your children, modify your genetics. Okay, this is the type of man, a nation of people that is ruling over us in this current state. And here it is, you have people that are more worried about what the brothers and the children of the Lord that are waking up to their true heritage and trying to prophesy as it is written or as it was written about what we're doing when you go outside and you ain't worried about what Satan's doing. It's absolutely astonishing that you weren't worried about what other men are doing, but you ain't worried about Satan. You know? And this right here is going to show you that Esau has a perpetual hatred. And through that hatred, the children of the Lord have been dealt with treacherously by every single nation of people on this earth. Are the devices of the wicked. Going back to the definition, it's a plan, a scheme, or a trick with a particular aim. It's a particular aim to keep you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in a dull state, a dull mentality, so that you don't realize who you are. You see, they don't want you to know who you are. Because not only does that end all, be all their long-term goal, okay, but it makes these prophecies even more true. You see, these elite banking families, they know the prophecies of this Bible, man. They know what's ordained to happen. And now that they're seeing it happen, all right, to a T, they're wigging out. All right, so this scheme and this plan is evident. It's time to wake up. Psalms 83 and 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So what did they do? They took our heritage. They told us we were Africans. They told us we were Latinos or Indians. They called us savages. They took our lands. Hell, even the Northern Kingdom came to America, being the the Gadites and the Reubenites and the Issachar. All right. And even that wasn't our land to begin with, but they took it from us even then. You know, that's the type of nature of who we're dealing with right now. Satan. You can never trust Satan. There is not one single time in history that these other nations and that these Edomites, these so-called Caucasians, have not utterly destroyed everything that they've touched. When it goes to their principles, when it goes to their customs. I mean, let's take a look. Let's take a closer look at some of the things that heathens promote. Homosexuality. What does that promote? Okay. Infections and diseases of the blood. Or uncleanness in general. All right. Look, eating pork or abominable foods. What does that promote? You get all fucking fat and huge and you can't lose the weight. Your body struggles. You have a heart attack at 30 or 40 years old. You know, that there's no longevity in that type of lifestyle. And see, it was set up that way in the first place to begin with. for a wicked to be an establishment and then the righteous to come and overthrow that wicked to show the necessity of the righteousness and the laws of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, this was all necessary. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are a confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. All right, so every single nation has it in. Has it in with Esau. You see, he's taking that power, his blessing of the sword, and taking it around the world. His elite military. These heathens back down to Esau's military, these so-called Caucasians and the American and NATO allies. They don't want no trouble with that because the Most High has given them a blessing of the sword to have the power and the technology to develop weapons of mass destruction, to bring fear in the hearts of their enemies, to invent things like the gun. You know, there's things that Esau has that are biological weapons. And I can attest to that personally because I work in an environment and it used to be a government building. It used to be NORAD in the city of Colorado Springs. And it's a trip, man. When I first started working there, you know, I thought I was losing my mind. I'd come home and I'd have these pains in my chest and, you know, my veins, my vascular system would shrink to like the size of a fucking pin. And I'd be like, what the hell's going on? You know, like, am I about to die? Am I about to give up the ghost? I thought there was something generally wrong with me. And it wasn't until some of the brothers in my camp also had gotten a job there at the same place. And we all talked to each other like the same shit is happening to me. And we came to the conclusion that this devil that we work for, being a corporation and in a former government building, huge complex, huge building, a government building. It used to be a federal building. Now it's a call center. All right. And we go in there every day. Everybody come home. They're poisoning us. They have this air system that they put some type of chemical solution into it and pump it throughout the whole building. To where you go to work every day and you feel like you finna die. You feel like you about to give up the ghost. You at work and it not only is it an awful thing to have to go to work and be in slavery and work for this man, but now you come home and you having heart palpitations. You look at your fucking veins, and I'm a decent sized dude, so when my veins are the size of a needle or something, or like a little pin, you know, there's something wrong with that. That ain't healthy, that ain't natural. I step out of that poison environment. All right, and then I go outside and I see chemtrails in the sky. The food that I'm eating is not even real. So this devil has formulated, he has a crafty counsel against the Israelites and even against his own people. How do you think this devil feels about the Israelites, the children of God, if he's willing to murder and enslave his own people, his own nation? This man has enslaved Caucasians and heathens alike from all nations. But you Israelites, you children of God, you don't want to realize what he wants to do for you, what he has planned for you. And the Lord said, this is Ezekiel 4:13, and the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. All right, it's a device, man. It's a plan. It's a scheme. It's a trick. It's a particular aim. Defiled bread, man. This was written. Defiled bread. You eat the bread and it makes your genes split. Makes you grow a brain tumor in your head when you're 20 years old. Defiled bread. You're living in a place where Esau's trying to be God. What other nation other than the heathens is trying to be like God? You know what I'm saying? So there is no doubt and there's no denying who the Lord's children are and who the wicked are. Because they're over there waving the flag and jumping up and down saying, yo, it's me, it's me, it's me. But denial and inability to perceive these things is what's got people jacked up, man, mentally. Defiled bread, GMOs. Who produces that? We live in an oligarchy sustained by corporations in an economic system where you're a consumer and it's expected of you to go to work and be enslaved every day to feed the beast, to pay the taxes, to feed the beast and buy this food that in turn you're feeding to your kids and destroying their genetics, whether you're an Israelite or not. See, because these Edomites, these devils, man, they're so obsessed with trying to prevent these prophecies from occurring that they're willing to poison their own people. These Edomites, these Joe Schmo Edomites are drinking the same water that we're drinking. They're eating the same bread that we're eating. And don't get it messed up, man. You might go to Natural Grocers or someplace that says it's not GMO affiliated, but Esau has it so entwined that it might say no GMOs, but you're still eating defiled bread. You cannot escape this man's system. As it is written in Deuteronomy 28:68, no man shall save you from captivity. That's why we're sighing and crying. That's why we are so upset at the situation we're living in, because we can't get out. As bad as we want to get out of this situation and go home and live right through the power and grace of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, we can't do it because we have to patiently wait on Hamashiach, man. We have to patiently wait on the Messiah to come and take care of these devils, to come and obliterate this country, to come in and correct all the things that were set incorrectly and then wrongly. Who's had the reins? Who's been driving for the last couple centuries? For centuries, man. What nation of people? You ask yourself, how does GMS call the Caucasians Edomites, or how do they label other nations? Because it's evident. Who's had the power? See, talk is cheap, man. But when you walk a walk, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then that motherfucker's a duck, man. And Esau's a duck. He's the wicked. Everything that he's done has been nothing but proactively destroy the world's ecosystem, the world's people, the Lord's people. He's enslaved the Lord's people, and these heathens have had a hand in that too. It's a device, man. It's a scheme. It's a plot. It was all set up that way on purpose, man. It's defiled bread. Esau trying to be God, man. You don't see Jake out there doing that shit. Jake too busy worrying about what Esau wants him to do. All these heathens, what they want them to do. All right, Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Now, this is a multifold. That might even be a word, but I'm going to use multifold. It's a multifold scripture. Multiple meanings. That's talking about the wicked in general, being these heathens in these other nations, and it's talking about Jake. Because they all have one thing in common. If you ain't fighting the good fight as an Israelite through your blood, for Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, doing the best that you can do, then you're a wicked man. You're a wicked man. And if you don't get that number and you're not sealed when that time comes and that final trumpet's blown, then it's a wrap for you. But these Edomites, like I said, I go outside right now and I guarantee you I see a chemtrail in the sky. I go get a drink of water out the faucet, and then I'm supposed to be grateful because I live in America and I got running water, but the water that's in my sink has a molecular component of antidepressants and all kinds of pharmaceutical drugs. That's fucking with my mind state. That's fucking with my helmet. And you can put a Brita filter on that. You could put a Brita filter. You could have a little fancy fridge with a filter, little HEPA filter for your little furnace or your little system. Doesn't matter. Because the shit that Esau's doing is stronger than that. See, he has the sword, man. The Lord had the almighty power that the heathens called Al-Shaddai. Al-Shaddai. All right? A fearful power. A truly fearful power. Has given Esau, these so-called Caucasians, the power to devise things in their labs and in their science that goes so far over people's heads that you can't even imagine the type of shit that this devil has. The type of shit that if this place was to continue to go on, can you imagine what would be happening? There will be no generations. You know, there would be no generations. Esau would inevitably destroy himself. So if you don't want to get down with the truth, then you want to kill yourself. That's what you're saying. Because they wake up in the morning and they devise iniquity on their beds at night, 24/7. Hey man, Esau is the reigning undisputed champ. These Caucasians are the reigning undisputed champ of wickedness. Nobody comes close except for Jake. All right, the Lord's children. That's it. You know what I'm saying? They wake up in the morning and they practice that shit. They scheme. They're like a little hold on, I gotta get him. I'm not trying to make this video too long, but I gotta get him, man. 'Cause I'm in the spirit right now. Salakia, brothers. Hey, this is you Edomites, man. You know? Hey, you Edomites, you wake up in the morning and you scheming. Hey, you scheming, man. Look at you. Look, just look at you. You scheming, man. You Edomites is wicked as hell. You like a little fly rubbing your hands, a little wicked demon, man. Your main goal is to kill the children of the Lord and to further your own agenda. You know, you over there scheming every morning. You wake up and you devise iniquity on your bed. How am I going to be a demon today? What kind of shit am I going to pump into Jake's neighborhood today? How am I going to try and throw the brothers that is trying to teach the word righteously off the truth today? You know, scheming, being Satan, man. And you Jakes, you wicked Jakes, man, death to you too, because you doing the same shit. You loving Massa and Massa is hating you. See, he got one hand around his shoulder and he's got a knife in his other hand and he's going to get you in your gut, man. Slow style. All right. They never trust your enemy, man. And if you don't understand history, even the shit they teach you in school teaches you that you shouldn't trust Caucasians, man. And hell, I grew up with Caucasians. In fact, I even thought I was one for a long time until I was put into the spirit and awoken from my slumber. Okay? And realized my nationality. All right? But you can see through history what these people have done. What these heathens have done. Their customs. If you think about it, even from a medical standpoint, from a health-orientated standpoint, eliminate the Bible completely from the situation. And you're telling me that these Caucasians and these heathens aren't the wicked? That doesn't make any sense, man. Nobody else fits those roles except them. All right, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1. Now, we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, and by our gathering together unto them, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by a letter from us, that the day of Hamashiach is at hand. And see, this is a different subject, man, but see, the men of the Lord are back. We're back, okay? And Yahweh Ratazah, that the brothers of GMS are those men, okay? But we're back. You know, we led all kinds of foul lives and did things before this life and in other lives. And guess what? Just like we did in our previous lives and through our lines, we're doing the same things right now. It's expected of you. It's your job, man. What's your profession? Your profession is to teach this truth, man. All right? To realize who the wicked are, to spread this truth, to wake your brothers up, the elect, the 1/3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there be come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Who is that wicked carnal man? Who is that wicked man of sin? Who is it? Okay, let's look at Cain. Let's examine Cain. Cain slew his brother Abel with a rock because he was jealous of the offering that Abel gave to God. All right? He was jealous. But what does Genesis say? It says the same thing. Look, just like Cain, man. Since I don't get my way, Edomites, then I will slay my brother Jacob. What about the Native Americans? What about the so-called Negroes? The Latinos, man? What kind of genocide other than, what other nation of people has been exterminated like that? And they swept it under the rug like they didn't want nobody to even just, disregard it. Yeah, we killed millions upon billions of people. But hey, forget about it. You have an American dream now. It's a dream. It's an illusion. Okay, I will slay my brother Jacob. That man of sin. That carnal man. Esau's a beast. Esau's a wild animal. Esau's such a fucking lunatic that he'll spray his own people with Lord knows what. Put poisons and toxins into the drinking water. Manipulate DNA genetical code that the Most High, the Creator, has created to be perfect. Doesn't need to be altered, at least right now, until he says so. But these Edomites, they in laboratories because they got the sword. And they twisting up vials, man, till this wicked be revealed, man. You know what I'm saying? This Esau, man. This man is evil as hell. And he's a piece of shit. All right? So he's going to get his, man. That's all he's been doing. Thus said the scriptures. You have to put these scriptures, you have to take your emotions out of these scriptures because emotions are not for men. If you're an Israelite, you have to be a non-emotional individual. Okay? Leave the emotions for the women. The women are great at being emotional. Give all the emotion. Let them be emotional. As a man, you have to think concisely and be in your head, man, what makes sense logically. So when you ask yourself what nation of people has had a constant quarrel and a beef with each other, who else could it be other than the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? And these so-called Caucasians? Who else? Who else could it be? Show me in the scriptures who else it could be. All right? You scoffers are lightweight, man. Let no man deceive you. Okay? Because the only person that's going to deceive you is the spirit through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, you playing a role. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Is it not written that through the Spirit, the Israelites are the temple of God? And who is over these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? Who's over? Who's above? The Caucasians, man, these heathens. All right? He wants to be like God. That's why the Most High gave him the power to develop the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. That's like giving somebody that is drunk driving down the street, like I'm talking about sloshed, a weapon of mass destruction and expecting him not to use it. You know what I'm saying? Or abuse it. This man is a homicidal maniac. This devil is a homicidal lunatic. And the Most High has given him the authority to destroy you, to beat your ass into shape till you get it through your thick head that you're the children of the Lord. And that these scriptures are the most true documents of history that we can even relate to, if it has been given for you to understand. But the main point is this man exalts himself like God. Who is doing that? Do you see Jake in science laboratories right now? Scheming up some shit, trying to figure out how they can manipulate the DNA and genetical code of nations of people, trying to genetically engineer, Jake's DNA so that they can be defiled and turn brothers homosexual or turn brothers into effeminate bastards and transsexuals or obedient slaves, good boys, good old boys. Who's doing that? Who's trying to be like God? When you even deal and you get into the type of things that you have to do to get into genetical modifications, You have no business doing anything like that. The very fact that when you look into science and what Esau tries to portray as what science is, as far as genetics or heritage or things of that nature, or even the ecosystem, how perfectly balanced a well-oiled machine that the Most High has made on this earth, and you think that it needs help? You think that this is just something that you can just tweak, and you got a little monkey wrench and you trying to twist bolts and shit? You ain't got no business messing with anything. You Edomites are exposed, man. You Edomites, you so-called Caucasians are exposed. And so are you other heathens. All right? There's only one type of people doing this shit. That son of perdition. Internal damnation. Okay? Annihilation. That's what you Edomites have coming to you. Perdition. Trying to be like God. He's revealed himself. He's there. He's waving that flag. Here I am. That's what he's saying. Son of man, prophecy and say, thus saith the Lord. Salak. Son of man, prophecy and say, thus saith the Lord. Say a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree, and he hath given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished, to give it into the hand of the slayer. And who is the slayer, man? All right? Who's the slayer, man? You know what I'm saying? Who is the slayer? Who's scheming diabolically? Malevolent, evil. Who's spraying your cities? Who's poisoning your water? Who's altering your foods? Is GMS altering your foods? Is GMS on private jets and spraying your cities with chemical components that cause death? Who has the sword been given to? Who has the sword been given to murder millions and billions of people? But see, you other people that don't want to get down with the truth, you're going to realize in that day when it's in your face and Esau takes that little scheming mask off and he shows you his teeth, how real this situation is. And most of you are going to shit your pants. Because this whole time he had you fooled thinking that this whole thing was about equality and about justice and about every man and woman having an equal right in America or in the world. That we can all hold hands and make it to the kingdom. You know? You see, but he has an ulterior agenda. His sword is sharpened and furbished, and the Lord knows since he was given that blessing to have laboratories to invest in technologies and biological chemical weapons that you can't even imagine. You know what I mean? We won't even really know until the kingdom what this man was doing to us. The type of stuff that he invested in to keep you children of the Most High docile and sleeping. The chemicals that he's spraying on us and what type of effects that would have on our lives. And if there was generations after this, the type of effect that it would have on our offspring. This sword is sharpened and it's furbished and it's ready to go. It's ready to go. All right. So I'm going to end it on there. This video, we got too long, but I'm in the spirit. Salakia brothers. Hopefully this was edifying. And man, I don't want to hear anything else from you scoffers talking about, identify this or identify that, man. Y'all too busybodying brothers' videos because it's a terrible thing. It's a terrifying thing because you can't come against this truth, man. It's beyond evident. All right. So with that, shalom to you sincere brothers.